You are sitting at the table, maybe with a cup of tea you forgot to drink. Your phone is face down, but your body is still leaning toward it. You are quiet, but inside something is begging, not loudly, politely. The way you learned to beg a long time ago. You tell yourself, I should check on them, I should explain, I should make sure they're okay. And right there, in that small moment, the empath shows up, not as strength, but as habit. I want you to stay with me, because what I am about to say may change how you see yourself. I will explain why this pattern began, and why it feels so hard to stop a little later. Many people think an empath is someone who feels too much. That is not true. An empath is often a child who was never allowed to be selfish. You learned early that love came when you were good, quiet, understanding, helpful. You learned to read the room before you read yourself. You learned to sense others before you sensed your own needs, and that skill kept you safe once. But now, it is costing you peace. I will explain how this shows up in adult relationships shortly. Silence feels unbearable to you, not because you are weak, but because silence takes away your role. When you stop texting, stop explaining, stop checking, you are no longer useful in the way you were trained to be. Your nervous system feels lost. It asks, if I am not fixing, who am I? This is why no contact feels painful. It is not withdrawal from a person. It is withdrawal from an identity. Silence is not abandonment. Silence is self-respect. Chasing feels loving to you because effort once equaled safety. As a child, effort kept connection alive. So now, when a relationship feels uncertain, you reach, you soften, you overgive. You say sorry even when you are hurt, but chasing changes the balance. It quietly tells the other person that your needs come last, not because they asked for that, but because you offered it. Over time, your position lowers, not in their eyes only, but in your own body. You begin to feel smaller, less solid, less sure of yourself. Here is the hard truth, said gently. Love does not grow where self-abandonment lives. When you chase, you may keep the connection, but you lose yourself. And a relationship that costs you yourself. And a relationship that costs you yourself is not intimacy, it is survival. Silence is not abandonment. Silence is self-respect. No contact feels powerful because it interrupts the old contract. The contract that said, I will carry the emotional weight so we don't fall apart. When you step back, the system shakes. Your body panics first. Thoughts rush in. What if they forget me? What if they think I don't care? What if this proves I was never important? I promise, we'll talk about these fears later because they're very real. For now, understand this. Silence removes the role you were trained to play, and anything that removes an old role will feel dangerous before it feels freeing. Chasing lowers your position because it hides the truth. It hides whether the other person is willing to meet you. When you are always reaching, there is no space for them to step forward. Silence creates space. Space reveals reality. Reality is what heals even when it hurts. You were not born an empath. You adapted into one. You learned to survive by being emotionally available, by being easy, by being less. That is why silence feels selfish to you. But selfishness is not the same as self-respect. One takes from others. The other stops taking from yourself. Notice what happens when you do not text. The urge rises. Your chest tightens. Your mind searches for reasons. This is not intuition. This is conditioning. Your body learned that closeness depended on your effort. Healing asks you to sit still long enough to feel what was never allowed to be felt. Uncertainty, sadness, anger, grief. Silence is not abandonment. Silence is not abandonment. Silence is self-respect. You are not punishing anyone by stepping back. You are not playing games. You are telling the truth with your nervous system. You are saying, I will not disappear to keep a connection. That message is felt, even if no words are spoken. Later, I will explain what changes in the other person's mind when you stop reaching, and why silence often brings more clarity than long conversations ever did. For now, stay here. Let this land. You are not broken because you care deeply. You were shaped that way, And what was shaped can be reshaped. This is not the end of the story. This is the moment before something important becomes clear. When you step back, the first thing that changes is not them. It is you. Your body loses its usual way of regulating fear. For a long time, contact was how you calmed yourself. A message, a reply, a sign. Stepping back removes that tool, so your system reacts. Thoughts race. The urge to fix returns. This is the psychology of stepping back. You are not losing control. You are taking it back from an old pattern that ran your relationships without your consent. Stepping back creates a pause between impulse and action. In that pause, awareness begins. You start to see how often you reached not because something needed to be said, but because something needed to be soothed. When you stop reaching, the nervous system learns a new lesson. Discomfort will not destroy you. You can feel longing without obeying it. This is how self-respect is built, not through confidence, but through containment. Silence is not abandonment. Silence is self-respect. Now let us talk about what changes in their mind, because many people are afraid of this part. When you stop reaching out, the emotional dynamic shifts. Before, the connection was being carried by your effort. Your availability created certainty. When that disappears, the other person must finally feel the relationship instead of coasting on it. At first, they may feel confused, then curious, sometimes defensive, sometimes relieved. Do not personalize this. It is not a judgment of your worth. It is the mind adjusting to a new reality. When you are no longer there to reassure, explain, or soften the space, they are left with themselves. And in that space, one of two things happens. They move toward you with intention, or they do not. Both outcomes reveal the truth. What silence does is remove distortion. It takes away emotional noise. Without your constant presence, their mind must answer a simple question. Do I want to show up here? That question cannot be answered when you are doing all the showing up for them. Silence is not abandonment. Silence is self-respect. Now, the hardest part. The urge to text or call. This urge is not a sign that you should act. It is a sign that something inside you wants relief. So let us be practical. When the urge hits, do not argue with it. Arguing creates tension. Instead, name it. Say to yourself, "This is my body seeking safety." Naming creates space. Then delay. Give yourself 10 minutes. Do not decide anything in those 10 minutes. Stand up. Change rooms. Breathe slowly, longer on the exhale. Most urges peak and fall if you do not feed them. Remove easy access. Archive the chat. Mute notifications. This is not punishment. It is protection. You cannot heal in the same environment that keeps triggering the wound. Each time you reread old messages, you reopen hope without evidence. That keeps you stuck. Write, but do not send. Open a note and write exactly what you want to say. Do not make it polite. Do not make it reasonable. Get the truth out. Often, once the emotion moves, the urge disappears. You are not craving contact. You are craving expression. Ask one grounding question each time. What am I feeling right now? Not what am I thinking. Feeling lonely, anxious, unseen, tired. These feelings deserve care, not a message that compromises your dignity. Silence is not abandonment. Silence is self-respect. Now let us talk about what you should focus on daily instead of chasing. Because healing needs direction. Your nervous system heals through rhythm. Wake up at the same time. Eat regularly. Move your body. Go outside. These are not distractions. They are regulation. When your body feels safer, your mind stops negotiating with pain. Focus on acts that rebuild self-trust. Keep small promises to yourself. Finish tasks you usually abandon. Speak honestly where it is safe. Each completed action tells your system, "I'm here for you." That message is more powerful than any reply you are waiting for. Shift your attention from their reactions to your reality. How do you feel after interactions? Drained or steady? Confused or clear? Small or grounded? These signals matter. Silence gives you the space to notice them without interference. Do not watch their behavior from a distance. That keeps you emotionally tethered. The goal is not to make them miss you. The goal is to return to yourself fully. When you stop orbiting their availability, your center returns to you. Silence is not abandonment. Silence is self-respect. Something else changes when you step back. Fantasy weakens. Without constant contact, you begin to see the relationship more clearly. You remember moments you minimized. You notice patterns you excused. This clarity is not bitterness. It is honesty. If they come back, you will meet them differently. Not from hunger, but from wholeness. If they do not, you will still have something solid. Yourself intact. That is why this works even when it feels like it might fail. Because you are no longer measuring your worth by someone else's movement. Stay with this process. Do not rush the quiet. Something important is reorganizing inside you. And when that settles, the way you relate to love, to absence, and to yourself begins to change. If they come back, this is where everything you practiced matters. Not your words, not your explanations, but your pace. When someone returns after silence, the old impulse may rush in. You may want to open your arms, fill the space, prove you are safe again. Slow down. Let their behavior lead, not your hope. You do not need to interrogate or accuse. You need to observe. Are they consistent or just emotional? Are they curious about you or just relieved you are available again? Standards are not demands. They are the conditions under which you stay present. Set boundaries quietly. You do not need speeches. You do not need ultimatums. Boundaries live in what you allow to continue. If they cancel, you do not chase. If they are vague, you do not fill in the gaps. You let the connection rise or fall on equal effort. This is how balance is tested. Real interest adjusts. Real care shows up more than once. Move at a human pace. Intimacy does not mean intensity. Let time reveal truth. If they want closeness, they will respect your rhythm. If they resist your boundaries, pay attention. Resistance is information. Silence already taught you how to listen. Silence is not abandonment. Silence is not abandonment. Silence is self-respect. Now, if they do not come back, this is not failure. This is clarity. Silence did its job. It revealed the truth without drama, without begging, without you shrinking yourself to be chosen. Closure does not come from their explanation. Closure comes from your decision to stop negotiating with absence. Grieve honestly. Do not rush healing by pretending you are fine. Loss hurts even when it saves you. Allow sadness to move through you without turning it into self-blame. You are willing to connect. That is not a flaw. It is a strength that now needs direction. Dignity is how you leave. You do not announce your exit. You do not seek validation for your pain. You step forward with your life intact. You redirect your energy into places where effort returns warmth instead of anxiety. Moving forward is not forgetting. It is choosing not to reopen a wound, just to feel something familiar. Silence is not abandonment. Silence is self-respect. Whether they return or not, silence reveals truth either way. If they come back with clarity, you learn what was possible. If they do not, you learn what was never there. Both outcomes protect you from living in confusion. Confusion is where empaths disappear. Here is the deeper shift. You stop defining love as endurance. You stop confusing care with self-sacrifice. You stop believing that being chosen requires you to be smaller. You begin to understand that real connection does not ask you to abandon yourself to keep it alive. Let me summarize this simply. You stepped back because chasing was costing you dignity. You stayed silent because silence exposed reality. You learned to regulate the urge instead of obeying it. You focused on daily structure instead of emotional pursuit. You let truth surface without forcing it. That is the work. One clear action step now. For the next 7 days, do not initiate contact. Not to test them, but to test yourself. Each day, choose one act that builds self-trust. One promise kept. One boundary honored. One moment where you do not reach for reassurance. Let your nervous system learn that you can stay with yourself and survive the quiet. Silence is not abandonment. Silence is self-respect. End this chapter with calm power. You are not waiting anymore. You are standing. You are no longer proving your value. You are living it. Whatever comes next will meet you at your level, not below it. If you want to go deeper into how to rebuild secure connection after emotional neglect, Watch the next video.